Welcome back to another edition of Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. I'm the Senior Vice President for the Bright Wellness Institutes. We're Louisiana's most advanced functional medicine institutes. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Como. Brandon, how are you today?
Doing well, sir.
I got to tell you, on your show last week, you had a caller that called in that was harassing you guys, and I was in my truck driving. I almost did a spit take with my coffee. It was so funny.
Yeah.
I know you know who I'm talking about. For those you guys listening that have never caught Brandon's show, it's called Offsides. It's at 4:00 on weekdays. It's my favorite show. It's so funny. I always listen to it in my office on my computer on Radio Pup. And so thanks for joining us today. I have a great show for you guys today. We're going to begin to discuss a very important topic, and this is something that's becoming more and more common, and it's becoming a real serious health concern in America. And so we're going to start a new series of shows today on brain health. We're going to discuss every aspect of how to keep your brain healthy. You know, brain health is such a huge issue. I know many of you are very interested in how you can keep your brain sharp and healthy and prevent the memory loss and the dementia and the forgetfulness. And we're going to discuss that. We'll also be discussing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and depression and anxiety and, you know, all of these other brain health problems that people are developing here in America today. Now, here's the first thing that I want you to know about brain health. And this is my big point. Your brain function can be improved. So you're not stuck with what you have. So what do I mean by that? Well, it would seem perfectly normal if you went to your cardiologist and he said that you were developing heart disease and your blood pressure was too high and you had cholesterol and he wanted you to diet and exercise to make your heart healthier. Like that would make perfect sense to you. But you know, your brain can also react the very same way. In other words, there are things we can do to improve your brain health, just like there are things you can do to improve your heart health. So in other words, you're not stuck with dementia or, you know, forgetfulness or depression or anxiety. There are things we can do to improve the health of your brain. Your brain's an organ just like any other organ. And just like you could do things to improve your heart, you can do things to improve your brain and the way your brain works. And actually, believe it or not, the brain responds beautifully to just a little bit of positive attention, and just a little bit of care can get your brain working better, sometimes in very profound ways. So being proactive to prevent these brain health issues like dementia and depression is a very, very important thing that we do. But my main point here is, don't think that you're stuck with brain health problems. And just like you can improve your muscles and improve your heart, and you can improve your brain just like all your other organs. But brain diseases and brain health problems are becoming a serious issue in America. Brain disorders, including psychiatric and neurodegenerative diseases, represent an enormous burden to the American people. Now, when I say neurodegenerative, I'm talking about the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, the dementia, the forgetfulness. And when I say psychiatric, I mean the depression, anxiety, bipolar, OCD, ADD, all of those type of disorders. And especially with our children, you know, the ADD and this stuff is becoming so common. The National Institute of Mental Health estimated that 1 in 4 American adults suffers from a diagnosable brain disorder. That's 25%. 25% of Americans have some kind of a brain health issue. The World Health Organization just estimated that depression is the leading cause of disease burden in America, and psychiatric disorders are among the most expensive of all health problems to deal with for our healthcare system. Just in 2012, the annual report for Alzheimer's Association estimated that even in 2012, 5.4 million people in the United States had Alzheimer's disease. And since 2012, those numbers have skyrocketed. It's now estimated by 2050, between 11 and 16 million Americans will have Alzheimer's disease. That's one new case every 33 seconds. The economic cost of that is unsustainable. It already accounts for $200 billion per year, and that was in 2012. And that number has since skyrocketed. In fact, guys, Alzheimer's disease by itself, this is the one disease that if we don't get this thing under control, could actually crash our entire healthcare system. Just this one disease by itself, because it's so expensive to care for these patients. Sometimes towards the end, they need 24/7 care. And if these rates continue to grow like they have been, and nobody else is talking about this, but if these rates continue to grow like they have been, this one disease by itself could literally bankrupt our whole healthcare system. So this is not just an issue of Pops can't find his keys anymore, or, Grandma can't remember somebody's name. This is something that we need to pay attention to, because you don't want to let that can't find your keys develop into a full-blown brain disorder that needs 24/7 care and costs an astounding amount of money. So it just gets brushed off as, well, I'm just getting older and I forget sometimes. But a lot of times, by the time the family starts to notice and say something, or by the time the person finally realizes that this is not just, I can't find my keys, that this is becoming a real problem, many times by the time it gets to that point, it's advanced way beyond a reasonable amount to deal with. So brain health is something that we all need to pay attention to, and it's more important than just losing your keys. This is a real serious issue. And of course, same thing with Parkinson's disease. The rates are going up, the costs are going up, people are getting it more often, and we need to do something about these neurodegenerative type brain disorders. And the neat thing is, we can do that. But we have to get this under control. And if we don't, the rates are going to continue to bankrupt the system. And with these psychiatric disorders, same thing. We all know people suffering with depression, anxiety, ADD, bipolar disorder, feelings of hopelessness, dementia. All of these things are becoming a real serious problem. And don't just write this off as your loved ones are just getting older. Please address these issues early, not later. But there's so many other people out there suffering with these emotional and psychiatric type problems, and not to mention the millions of people that just don't feel themselves every day, like their brain is unhealthy and maybe they just have brain fog, maybe they're not as productive at work, or maybe they have low energy. There's millions of people that aren't diagnosable. Maybe they're just irritable or they have mood swings. There's literally millions of people that are suffering and are less than what they could be in their life, but they're not yet diagnosable with a quote disease. So all of these brain-based disorders have become more and more prevalent in our society. And here's the one thing that I want you to get out of this show today, and especially this first segment, is that the one thing that I want you to remember is that your brain health, just like you can make your heart healthier by doing healthier things for your heart, you can absolutely make your brain work better and be healthier by doing things to make it healthier and better. So people seem to feel like, well, my brain's going downhill and I'm just getting old and there's nothing I can do about it. That is not the case. And with these chemical imbalances, everybody you talk to says, well, my doctor said I have a chemical imbalance. I need to take this antidepressant. Well, my question is, what's causing that? What's causing the chemical imbalance? Like, what's causing that? And how do we bring it back into balance? And your brain has an ability called neuroplasticity, which means it can change, it can improve, and it can get better. Just like if I exercise a muscle, that muscle gets better. Your brain with this neuroplasticity is the same thing. If we can give your brain what it needs to function better, and we can exercise those chemical messengers in there, it will get better. So we have a series of shows on brain health, and I want to invite all of you out there that are having brain health problems, or maybe you're listening and one of your loved ones is having brain health problems. Maybe they're starting to forget people's names or lose their keys. I want you to ask them to tune in. This may just be the secret that you've been searching for a solution for these brain-based issues. And I'll tell you something else. Don't chalk it up to I'm just getting older. You need to pay attention to these things. I don't care how old you are. We can do things to improve the health and the way that your brain works. And you don't want to let this go and develop a full-blown dementia-type brain disorder. And so there are things that can be done